Good morning, Rockin' Brain. I'm doing well. Nice to see you. Happy Friday. We made it to the end of another week. I cannot seem to get my YouTube stream to show up. Huh. It's weird. Let's see, what's today, the 31st? Let's see, attempting to refresh token. Token has been expired or revoked. No token available. Huh. Wonder why my token refresh is broken. Well, I think I can fix that. 1 second. There we go. Huh. Well, add that to the list of ever-growing bugs with the term chat application. There we go. Okay. Okay, Termato, and we want the visualizer, we want the sound and the notifications. Where's boot.dev? Coffee. I love coffee. I love it so much. Okay, back to SQL. We're not too far away from being done here. Write a SQL statement that includes an inner join and returns the following: the user's name, the user's username, the count of support tickets attributed to that user, labeled as support ticket count. Okay, so I'm guessing we have some support tickets somewhere. Yeah, right here. Okay. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna do select star or select user name from. Also, if it ever sounds like I'm kind of talking a little quieter than normal, it's because my family is like sleeping in the basement, like right behind me, and I'm trying. We had some weather here last night and this morning, so I'm trying to be relatively respectful, but still stream. From users, right? Yeah, from users. And then we're gonna do inner join with support tickets. What What do we want to join on? User, I guess probably support tickets dot user ID. So where any tickets that have an account access is the issue type. So where support tickets issue type does not equal account access. Return records only for users who have more than one non-account access support ticket. So I guess that would be and support ticket count is greater than 0. Oh, greater than 1. And we want to then order by sort the records that users with the most support tickets appear first. So that would be order by support ticket count descending like that. Logical error. Oh. No such column. I'm not really sure how to count this. So did we just count by ID? Or maybe star? Misuse of aggregate. I don't know what I did wrong. Users.username. From users, inner join. Okay, let's just remove that. What the fuck? Well, time to use some of that salmon. I don't know what I should be passing to count. Oh. I don't know. Okay, usually comes from trying to use an alias in a clause that runs before the alias exists. So you can't use the alias here. But how do I determine that um there we go. Okay. So if I want to be able to use aliases for filtering, those need to go in the having clause, not the where clause. They need to come after group by. Good to know. Okay. As it turns out, the front end frequently finds itself in a state where it knows the user's email but not their ID. Let's add an index on the email field called email IDX. So create index email IDX on column name, which would be ID. No. Slap an index on it. A B-tree index makes O(n) lookups. No, login. Add indexes only to primary keys, only foreign keys, columns that frequently perform lookups on. Indexes slow down write speeds. Okay, so we'll do create index user ID, recipient ID. Then we're going to give it a name. Hello, Satya. How are you? Nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by the stream again this morning. Pretty low-key day over here. Just more boot.devon. Boot.devon. Oh, this is transactions. There we go. Same here? Oh, very cool. Well, let's hang out and do it together then, huh? User ID, recipient ID. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Whoopsies. There we go. Oh yeah, we completed it. And we got a sharpshooter chest. Let's go. Great stuff. And I reached level 80, man. That was a lot all in one go. I am an arch sage now. You will now all address me as arch sage Steven. Only 4% of members have earned this achievement. You can now access the Arch Sage Lounge. What's the Arch Sage Lounge? What's in here? Apparently I don't have access to it. Oh, I think I left. I must have left their Discord. Whoopsies. You're all set. There we go. I am a human, I promise. I don't want to do any of that now, Boots. Leave me be. Yes, I have done that. The Arch Sage Lounge. What's in here? They made it seem like it's a big secret. Just lots of people talking, I guess. Well, 20 more levels to go. On to the next one. Okay. I think we're building a blog aggregator now. I think. Yeah, blog aggregator. Okay, let's make sure we've got all our stuff. Okay. All right, Gator is a multi-user CLI application. There's no server other than the database, so it's only intended for local use. But just like the games in the 90s and early 2000s, that doesn't mean we can't have multiplayer functionality on a single device. We'll use a single JSON file to keep two things: who is currently logged in, the connection credentials for the Postgres database. The JSON file should have this structure. Note there's no user-based authentication for this app. If someone has the database credentials, they can act as any user. We'll cover auth in other courses. Okay, I'm gonna blow my nose real quick, then I'll be right back. Okay, we're gonna put the boot.dev thing off to the side here. Okay. So what's the manually create a config file in your home directory with the following content. Okay, so we'll touch .gator config. What a name. What a name. Gator config.json. VS Code JSON. Oh, I don't think I have that installed on the other side. Okay. DB URL Postgres example. Okay. Now we're going to do a go mod init, and we're going to call this, I guess, Gator. Oh crap, I did the wrong folder. Remove go.mod. Gator. Go mod init. And I'll go. Oh, I did it again. Jesus Christ. Get it together, Steven. Ah, there we go. Let's go ahead and do license generator. Go ahead and slap on that. New item or touch, readme. What else? Anything else we need in there? I don't think so. Okay, let's get to work. Oh, probably need a main.go, don't we? Main.go. Make package main. Oh, excuse me. Gator. Okay, it wants us to add a internal package named config. Like that. Okay, we've got that going on. Okay, this package should have the following functionality exported to the main function. So the main function can use it. Export a config struct that represents the JSON file structure, including struct tags. Okay, so we want a type config struct that has, I think for now it's just the DB URL, which is a string, and it has JSON DB URL, I think, right? Yeah, that's it. Export a read function that reads the JSON file found at JSON at gatorconfig.json and returns a config struct. It should read the file from the home directory, then decode the JSON string into a config struct. I used os.userHomeDir to get the location of home. Export a setUser method on the config struct that writes the config struct to the JSON file after setting the current user name field. Okay. So we'll do current user name is also a string. This is current user name. That. Okay. Function. I want to change their instructions so much, but I'll just stick with what they want. So we don't read. This is gonna return a config. And for now, we'll just do this. And then we also need a func set user. It writes the config struct to the JSON file after setting the current username. So this will take a config. I don't think it's going to return anything. Maybe an error. And I guess this should probably return error. Okay, so then how do we get the os.user home directory? Okay, user home dir returns the current user's home directory. On Unix, including Mac OS, it returns the home environment variable. On Windows, it returns user profile. On Plan 9, it returns the home environment variable. If the expected variable is not set, user dir returns either a platform-specific default value or a non-nil error. Okay. So let's do dir or home dir or error. If error does not equal nil, we'll just return that. Otherwise, we want to read from it. So let's add a constant up here. This is going to be Gator config file equals Gator config.json. Okay, now we need to read that. So we need the bytes because we eventually want to call JSON.unmarshal. And we want to give it some data in our config. So os.read file. So this will be config file path is going to equal, I'm guessing they probably have like OS join or OS path. Maybe they have a path module. There we go. Joins any number of path elements into a single path. So we want home dir and the gator config file. Okay. And if there's an issue reading that, we want to return nil and error. Now you are unhappy. Why are you unhappy? Call of unmarshal passes non-pointer. Oh. And do you return an error? Yes, you return an error. So if error does not equal nil, return nil error. Hey, what's up, Francis? How are you? Nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by the stream. We're having ourselves a pretty low-key day over here. I'm gonna have a separate function for, well, let's start with just this. So we have to basically do the inverse operation of what we did up above, right? So if we have a config, we probably need the config and the user, don't we? So we probably need a current name. It's gonna be a string. Then we say config. Whoops. Kind of makes me think that they want these to be private, huh? Since they're exposing a getter or a setter, probably want those to be private. What IDE are you using? Sorry, it's not a stupid question at all. I'm using an editor called NeoVim. It's like a terminal-based editor, very similar to like old school Vim, but it's been extended. NeoVim just kind of extends Vim to make it much more extensible and configurable so that you can sort of recreate a lot of the functionality that you would get in something like VS Code, but do it in a terminal setting. Actually, if you type, I don't know if I have a link for that. So those are my NeoVim configs that I put in the chat. And then the NeoVim homepage, if you're curious, is this one. It's definitely not mandatory to use NeoVim, but it sure is a fun side quest. But yeah, it's just like, it starts off very simple as just a text editor, and then you can extend it to basically be VS Code in the terminal if you'd like it to be super capable like that. But no stupid questions here. I guess it has to be public. All right, so we did the struct, we implemented read. Now we need to serialize this thing. So the first thing is we're going to get our data, which is going to be equal to JSON. Oh, we can take a break now. Thanks for the answer. Of course, yeah, of course, yeah. I can't take credit for any of my knowledge about NeoVim. Really, I owe all that knowledge to other people. Typecraft, he's a good YouTuber. TJ DeVries is who I... TJ DeVries and the Primogen is who I originally saw using NeoVim. And it took me like 2 or 3 years to eventually give it a go. But I'm happy I did. All right, I feel like we should see what's going on in the news. Oh man, they're still trying to get Fauci? That's crazy, dude. U.S. investigating whether Iran was behind cyber attack on Minnesota water systems? What? Why would Iran want to attack Minnesota water systems? Malicious cyber activity affected technology at more than 30 community water systems across Minnesota this week, forcing some utilities to switch to manual operations as state and federal authorities dig into who is behind the attacks. Wow. What a weird thing to attack, right? Yeah, I use it for a lot of languages actually. I use it for so I use it for Go, obviously that's the one you're seeing here. But I also use it for C#, TypeScript, Rust. Let's see. So if I go to term chat, so this is a terminal chat application. It's actually the one that you see in your terminal over there on the far right there, on the screen. This one's written in C#. So you can get your C# on. So that's language server support, all the different LSPs. It uses LSP, which is the thing that Microsoft built to make Visual Studio Code what it is. But yeah, you can do all the normal things that you would expect from a language server, which is pretty good. Let's see, that's C#. And then the Pomodoro timer that you see on your screen, that's written in Rust. And so I've got NeoVim set up to do that. So if you want to have syntax highlighting and all kinds of cool stuff, you can. Which is great. And then what else? TypeScript, I guess, would be another one that a lot of people would probably use. I can't remember what I last worked on in TypeScript. Didn't I write? I wrote something Vue related recently. But I can't remember what it was. Dude, I'm looking at all these project names and now I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I did work on that. But yeah, it does any language really. It's built on a lot of the same protocols that Microsoft developed to make Visual Studio Code great. So like debug adapter protocol supported, the language server protocol supported. It does take a little bit more configuring and tinkering to get it all working the way you want it. There's a couple like kind of out of the box distributions that you can look at. There's one called Lazy Vim, I think is one of the popular ones. I think this is the one that's in Omarchy. So if you wanted something kind of out of the box, already set up, ready to go for you, you might take a look at this website. There's a couple. There's another one called Kickstart, which is pretty good. Let's see. Where are you? You're over there on YouTube. There you go. Hey, good morning, Caffeinated Minds. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Okay, where were we? We were marshalling JSON. Hello, Abdullah. Nice to see you. Yeah, Kickstart and Lazy would both also be my go-to recommendations. There you go. Yeah, I think if you're wanting to kind of, I personally kind of built mine from the ground up. I started by following Typecraft's NeoVim for Noobs course, and then I've just kind of slowly iterated on it and made it my own over time. And I kind of like that. I kind of like understanding and knowing how it's all organized and pieced together. Because if you use Lazy Vim and you open it up, it's kind of overwhelming. Like, how does all this Lua code work? But if you just want to use NeoVim without really understanding any of the internals, those distros are really good. Yeah, of course, Caffeinated Minds. I hope you are doing well, and thanks for being a member, as always. Abdullah, I think I said hello. I'm pretty sure I said what's up. But yeah, what's up with you? We're just having ourselves a pretty chill time over here today. Okay, I'm going to make a little helper function up here called function get config path. And it's just going to do this. Excuse me. Oh man, sorry. For some reason, my keep burping. Does this return an error? Does path.join return an error? Nope. I think that's good. Then we can replace all this with that. So we can just say error. Get config file path like that. And that'll make this a little bit easier down here. We can say config file path if error. I'm guessing a lot of Go developers probably have a snippet that just automatically dumps this into their editor. Okay, now that we have that, we can do os.write file. And this would be data and config file path and something else. Yep, snippet for error handling is so useful there. Yeah, that's what I figured that was the case. I've never been a one to really use snippets much, but let's see. I want mode. I want like right. No. File mode. So I have to pass this. Okay, if the file does not exist, write file creates it with permissions perm. Otherwise, write file truncates it before writing without changing permission. Since write file requires multiple system calls to complete, a failure mid-operation can leave the file in a partially written state. So go OS write file file mode example. Is this not what I want to use? Do I want to use like os dot open file maybe? Opens the named file for reading. Okay, what's create do? Creates or truncates the name file. The file already exists, is truncated. If the file does not exist, it is created. If successful, methods on the return file can be used. Okay, let's do that. I'm guessing this hands back a file handle and an error. Okay, file dot what? File write. I guess I'm curious. What does this? Let's see. Marshall returns the JSON encoding of V. Okay. Turns the number of bytes written. I don't think I care about that. So we'll do if error does not equal nil, return error. Otherwise, return nil. Guess we probably have to close it too. Should check error return from OS create before defer. Oh, that's good. That is a good warning. So I wonder then in the read method, should I do something similar? I don't know. Okay, let's see if that works. So what do we have here? We have export a set user method on the config struct. So this is going to be, this is actually going to be a pointer called C. config. Like this. Okay. And then now what we need to do is update the main function to read the config. Okay, so this would be something like here's our config, and then we'll import that package and we'll say read declared and not used. Oh, so we'll say if error does not equal nil, we'll just format dot print f error reading config file and then %w, pass in the error. And if we do find it, then we'll read it. We'll set the user to myself. We'll say c.set user, and we'll pass in Steven. Do lowercase. What's this error about? Format.printf does not support error wrapping directive, so we just treat it like a string then. And then set the user, then write it back. Oh no, it does an IO call here. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about the set function writing the config, right? I feel like functions should not have side effects that aren't obvious. And it's not obvious that a setter is going to have IO related to it, you know? Okay, so do config.read. Error reading updated config file. Otherwise, we'll say format.print f. Print the contents of the config struct to the terminal. Okay, so updated config. I'm actually going to add something that allows pretty printing the config. Good morning, afternoon, and evening to all. How y'all doing today? We're doing good, Wowie. We are doing good. How are you doing? We're having ourselves a pretty chill Friday morning. Or it's Friday morning for me. For other people, it's a different time of day. But yeah, it's good stuff. Hello, Arvind. How are you doing? So I'm gonna declare a function on the config. And this is gonna return format dot sprintf, and we are just gonna say config. We're gonna say db URL equals %s and current username equals %s. And then we'll pass in c dot. I think that will let us have a prettier printing, assuming it works. Whoops, go run, sorry. Hey, it worked. Let's go. Um, okay. Let me look at the internals again real quick. So I think I'm lagging live by 130, so fine, I guess. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're lagging. I wish there was something I could do to help. I think my interconnection now, my network connection and my stream connection is rock solid now. I haven't had disconnect issues since I made all those changes. So if there was something I could do on my end, I would. Haven't any buffering since the last network change you made. Good work. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that. That was a struggle for a little while, and I apologize that I didn't fix it sooner. What are we making? I am working on doing boot.dev. We just finished their SQL course this morning, which I should probably update my stream title. But now we're making a blog aggregator, I think is the name of this course. Let me see. My main goal is to reach level 100, which is kind of the top level in their hierarchy. Yeah, we're doing this. We're building a blog aggregator. Nothing crazy exciting to write home, but it's just fun to play boot.dev. Your mic gain is like negative 127. Really? My mic gain over here shows negative 4. It looks good on my end. I might be talking a little quieter than normal because my family was sleeping back behind me. But I'm hesitant to turn it up anymore because when I talk loud, I don't want it to hurt anybody's ears. I can add a little here. Hello. Okay, that's a little bit. That's peaking. How about that? Is that any better? Okay, cool. All right, so I was trying to get logged into Twitch so I could update my title. Got good old MFA going on here. Good old MFA. What are we doing? We're building a blog aggregator. And then we should probably update it on the YouTubes. On the YouTubes. There we go. Oh, we should probably update the doing command too. We are building a blog aggregator as part of the road to Archmage Saga using boot.dev. That's what we're doing. Better now from 2 minutes past. I'm sorry, man. I wish there's something I can do. I'm sorry you're lagging. Okay. Where did I put there you go. I need this guy. Okay, so I think we did everything here that we were supposed to do. Although I was going to take a look at the internal package one more time just to see if there is anything I can clean up here. Git config path. Is there anything else I can abstract? I think we could probably abstract this, right? Like we don't need to. Actually, all of this, like this right here, this just needs to be one call. I think this just needs to be like a write file call that takes the config and returns an error if there is one. Because I'm guessing there's going to be other times we need to call that. I honestly think it should be a separate call. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think this should be called inside the setter. That's just me, but that's just me. But we might change that.
How is the trad coding going this morning?
Hey, what's up, Kale? It's going good, man. It's going good. We're just enjoying our Friday morning. Drinking our Gatorade, drinking some coffee. It's rainy. It's a rainy morning here. What about you? How was Friday down under? Okay, I'm also gonna put, I kind of prefer private stuff to be at the bottom of a file and public stuff to be at the top myself. So let's do this. Hello, Paprika. Meow back at ya. It was good. The ID department is getting me a 16 gigabyte more SODIMM, and I got an extension on my assignment. Well, that's awesome, dude. I'm happy to hear that. Yesterday was very low-key. I had a work lunch. We recently hired 2 new engineers on our team, so we had a work lunch to meet those people. I've been doing some research around this new technology that they're thinking about using in our platform, which has kind of been fun. So I've been hacking on like a little bit of a POC. Basically, I'm just spinning up a little POC and just implementing all the different products that this company provides. The name of the technology is called Paragon. Just kind of like a integration platform as a service is basically what they offer. So I've just been spending a lot of time kind of wrapping my mind around how their products work and the different capabilities they have. So that's been fun, kind of like a research project. Yeah, other than that, I was super tired last night. I went to sleep at like 8 p.m. I fell asleep on the couch and didn't wake up till this morning. It was good. How is everything? Everything is great, man. Everything is awesome. That's what that makes me think of. The Legos movie. Yeah, no complaints. Nice. You get up at 4 though, don't you? Yeah, but normally I'm not that tired at night. Yeah. I mean, usually I'll wake up. Yeah, usually I do for streaming. I wake up pretty early, but usually I don't feel that sleepy. I don't know if it's sorry. Ah, there's a piece of like dry skin on my lip. Sorry. Yeah, usually I don't feel like that usually though at night. So maybe it's just a cumulative effect of waking up early, catching up with me. You go to bed at like 2 to 4. Yes, I would probably do that too. If I didn't stream, I would probably sleep in later and stay up later at night. That's kind of the schedule I fell into when my kids were born. When I had both my kids, so before both my kids, I was kind of burn it at both ends type of person. So I'd wake up super early and go to bed super late. Then my kids were born, and waking up early kind of lost its appeal because no matter how early, because the reason I would wake up early was to have time for myself. But when my kids were little, it didn't really matter how early I woke up. They would just always be up too, right? So that kind of lost its appeal. So then I started staying up really late at night because we'd put them to bed at like 8 p.m. and then I'd have the rest of the night for myself or to hang out with my wife or whatever. So I did that for most of their early years. And then I guess for the last year and a half or so, I've been waking up early again so I can stream. But both my boys are old enough now that when they get up, they don't need as much hand holding, right? They can get drinks and breakfasts and stuff for themselves. So it's a thing. Yeah, I go to bed for time to myself. Yeah, that's it sounds weird, but yeah, my brother's the same way. You gotta find a way to carve out a few hours in the day that are just yours. At least that's important for me. It's important for me for how I show up as a dad and a husband and just all things, you know. I need to have that time to work on my own stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whatever it is, you know, coding projects. Sometimes for me, it's making videos. Sometimes it's writing blogs. Sometimes it's just exploring something new, right? Like, what was the most recent thing? Oh, Omarchy. I spent like an hour or two one night just spinning up a VM in Hyper-V to see what Omarchy was like, right? And there's not really a point to it other than just kind of wandering around inside something that's new and different and just seeing what it feels like, right? Yeah. You gotta find time for that stuff. There's a book. I think it's Jeff Bezos' book. Wander, I think. There's some book called Wander. I think it's Jeff Bezos. It's a good, I mean, feel what you want about Jeff Bezos, but it's good advice, I think, that, you know, some of the things that Invent and Wander is the name of the book. Some of the best things come from unclear direction, right? Marchy stuck for you? Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I felt very, I mean, granted, I only spent a couple hours with it, but spending time in Omarchy gave me the same feelings that I had when I made the switch from VS Code to NeoVim. I just, like, I can't do anything. because everything's keyboard centric navigation, and then everything is like all the config is file based and everything. So like I'm trying to figure out, how do I open a damn web browser? How do I search the internet, right? Like just like the very basic things all of a sudden become I feel like I'm starting all over again. Uh, which is, I mean, it's fun, but it's also like you got to be in the right headspace where you're like, you know what, I'm okay with I dual boot my PC with Windows and a margin. Nice, very cool, Swifts. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I think I'd like to have a similar setup. I don't think I'll walk away from Windows. I would love to have kind of a dual PC setup for streaming, where, you know, I've got my Windows host kind of for all the streaming and video stuff, and then Linux for all the dev related items. Yeah, or virtualization. Virtualization would be good too. Just Super K, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's, I was like sitting there trying to like get used to all the keyboards and stuff, you know, keyboard shortcuts and whatnot. But I guess it's just like with NeoVim, you got to give it some time to get proficient with all the navigation. That'd make it like 15 terabytes. Yeah. I guess you got to decide how you want to allocate your resources. Well, I guess what I was going to say is I liked Omarchy. It's one of those things where you got to be in the right headspace to take the hit on your productivity, right? Because you're like swapping out. You're like the thing you're very proficient at and very fast with and can get a lot done with. Now you're switching out for something new. And so you're going to kind of take a hit on your productivity for a little while. And you sort of have to be in the right headspace to be like, that's okay. I'm not going to get frustrated, right? And I don't think I'm there right now. But I'm sure eventually I'll take a couple weeks. Maybe we'll do like a month long series of streams that are Omarchy only, like developing on an Omarchy install only or something like that. NVIDIA card made setting it up a little brutal. There were a couple workaround steps I needed. Isn't that the story with Linux, right? Isn't that the like Linux and Wi-Fi chips and graphics chips like are kind of pains in the butts to work with from machine to machine and distro to distro? Fingerprint readers also nice. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm kind of where you are, Kale, where I think any at this point, unless I get another PC, I think my Omarchy exploits will kind of be isolated to some sort of virtualization. All right. Let's go ahead and submit this. But I really did like the aesthetics of Omarchy, you know? So I love that there's a Linux distro out there now with a lot of taste for people to have a good starting point. Although I never really understood all the hate with Ubuntu, because I am perfectly fine with just using a plain old Ubuntu installation, but that's just me. Just too hard not to virtualize for my use case. I totally understand it. All right, let's start with the simple login command. For now, all it will do is set the current user in the config file. We want to add many commands to our CLI, so let's build a flexible system that will allow us to register new commands easily. Okay, before we can worry about command handlers, we need to think about how we will how our handlers access the application state. Later, the database connection, but for now, the config file. Create a state struct that holds a pointer to a config. Okay. So let's do type state struct. And this guy will have a config, which will be a pointer to config.config. Oops. Okay. And then create a command struct. Okay. Probably don't need to put these in separate packages right off the bat, but I think that's where it's going to end up anyways, so. So we'll just start there. Create a command. Okay, this contains a name, a slice of string arguments. Oops. A name, string, arguments is going to be a slice of strings. For example, in the case of the login command, the name would be login, and the handler will expect the argument slice to contain one string, the username. Create a login handler function. This will be the function signature of all command handlers. So let's actually type that then. Let's type it as command handler is a func that takes a state object, state, as well as the command itself. If the command's arg slice is empty, return an error. Okay, so then how do we want to model that? So we can say this has a handler, which is a command handler, like that. Which is interesting because I don't think we need to pass this if this is going to live on it. Because the handler, if it lives on the command itself, can't we just pass itself? I think we can just pass itself in. Okay, create a commands struct. This will hold all the commands in this the CLI can handle. Add a map func error field to it. This will be a map of command names to their handler funcs. Okay, so he's doing this a little different. So never mind. Let's do this. I'm not going to what I want to do is I just want to build this the way I think it should be built, but I'm going to try to follow his instructions here, because I could inadvertently build myself into a corner that then makes it hard to complete the remaining requirements without knowing what all the requirements are. Okay, so we want a commands struct. So let's do type.
What are we building?
We are building a blog aggregator, apparently. Let's see if there's a good explanation of what we're gonna build in here. Yeah, here we go. This is the explanation of what we're gonna build. So it's called Gator. So we're gonna build an RSS feed aggregator in Go. It'll be able to add RSS feeds from across the internet to be collected. We'll store the collected posts in a PostgreSQL database, which I don't know why we're using PostgreSQL. We should probably just use SQLite. Follow and unfollow RSS feeds that other users have added, and then view summaries of the aggregated posts in the terminal with a link to the full post. So that's what we're implementing. Should be interesting. Okay. So we're gonna have a commands. There we go. Commands struct. And this is gonna have a field on it called what? Entries, maybe we can call that. It seems silly to have commands.commands, but that's probably what it should be called. So it's a map of string. Oops. Map of string to command handler. My fresh broken. I just need a small RSS feed aggregator for my app. Well, there you go. That might be a fun project. I don't know what language or where you're at in your learning journey on what you're picking up at the moment, but could be a fun project to put in your back pocket to build the next time you want to learn something new. Could even make like a TUI version of this, because I think this is just going to be a CLI, but a TUI version of this would be kind of interesting, where you could actually like fetch the blog and then maybe parse it to Markdown and just render it in the TUI. You know, you could just read blogs right in the TUI as Markdown. I think that would be kind of interesting. Basically everything should live in the terminal now. I did an XML parser that edits live XML lists when they update, so they pull as my title. That's very cool. Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool features you could probably implement around this kind of thing. Okay, this is going to have a function. So I just got to go the other way, write the aggregator. Yeah, I think that's a good project. So this is going to be called run. And this is going to be called register. No, this takes a name, sorry. Name, string, and then a command handler type. Like that. And for now, I'll just return nil. I don't know, man. I kind of feel like these things should be bundled together. You know? I want to change this so bad. I'm just going to add some to-dos. To do. I feel like this should just take a command. To do. I feel like this should contain the handler func, right? Because why should you be able to create a command that doesn't have a handler? that's dumb, in my opinion, right? So when you're constructing a command, you should have to provide name, the arguments, and the handler. That should just be a given, I feel like. But we'll see where we'll see where he's headed with all this. Okay, and then we're gonna add a I think this can be private. And what we'll do is we will export a func called new commands, which returns this. And then we'll do the same thing for our state. Func new state takes a fig, returns state struct with config set to C. Okay, config, yep. Okay, that looks good so far. So let's go ahead and now compose this together in main. So what they want us to do now in main, I pull all the Australian emergency and weather reports through RSS, use it to turn off and back up my servers. Oh, that's awesome. That is such a useful project. So you basically have a way to always make sure that, like, I'm sure like your servers probably back up on a regular cadence, right? But you basically have a way to say, hey, we need to do an ad hoc backup because of the RSS information, or because of the information that I've pulled through my RSS feed. That's very cool. Yeah, that's pretty baller, dude. That's a great you need to either package that up into a series of blogs or videos, because I could see a lot of people wanting to build that for themselves. That's really cool. Yeah, that's very cool. That's a very creative I don't think I've heard of anybody doing that before. I mean, I'm sure people have done it before, but like I've never seen that come across any of the content I've ever consumed. Very creative, man. Love it. Mason, you're level 8 right now. Very cool. I just got to level 80. Not to compare. Just sharing. Okay? Just sharing. It's fun. It is fun. Yeah, it is fun. I'm actually excited. Now I'm excited to finish boot.dev because I found another programming game to play called Artifacts, which is much more like a actual game. And you play it by making API calls. And you can use whatever client library you want. But yeah, I'm very excited to give this a try. This is very much my kind of game. And then the fact that it allows you to play it through writing code. It's kind of the marriage of like two of my favorite things. So that I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time playing this or streaming this. Looks pretty cool. Just got to level 20. Nice, nice. Good morning, Captain Lucho. Thanks for holding it down on Twitch over there. I know it's kind of a It's a little bit of a ghost town over there, over there on Twitch, but appreciate you showing up for us. And now we're gonna do now we need our commands. Let's get rid of this. So now we have our state. We need our commands, which is going to be command.new commands, like this. And so we're gonna have to register some stuff. So commands dot register. And this we'll want to call our login command here. So login command is going to equal command dot new command. I don't have that yet. So I think this actually needs to be, I'm going to change the naming here. So I think this actually should be called a registry. Or maybe command registry. How about that? And then let's make this be new registry. I know I'm playing. I'm being very tic-tacky about the naming, but to me it matters. This should be command, run command. And then in main.go, this should be, oh, that doesn't exist yet. And this should be registry. And then let's make another one for new command, which is going to be live up here somewhere. So this should be func new command. And in my opinion, that should actually make these private. I mean, they don't really have to be private, honestly, but they probably, I don't know. So then we'll do new command returns a command, right? And then return a properly instantiated command. So for a new command, we need the name, which is a string. We need the arguments. Args. We need your handler. And then we're just going to pass those along. Name. Arguments. And your handler. Well, handler. You don't exist there, but I'm going to put you there. I said I wasn't going to change the I said I wasn't going to change the implementation, but I am going to now. I've made up my mind. I've made up my mind. Good morning, Gun Highs. Man, lots of energy from you this morning. How you doing over there? With the hard accent on the A. Hardest part was Python asynchronous notifications to my phone for warnings and backups via Discord webhooks. Really? Just because Python is not super asynchronous? I'm out of coffee, bro. Yeah. Yeah, the Python async story is kind of an odd one. I kind of feel like Python async and Rust async have about the same situation in terms of their async stories. You know, it was something that was sort of bolted on after the fact, which seems weird to me. It's like, why would you build a language in 20 whatever? Well, I guess Python wasn't built. I guess it makes sense in Python. Rust, I kind of doesn't make sense. Like, why would you build a newer language and not have async just be part of it, like a first-class citizen? I'm sure there's good reasons. It's probably because it's hard. I don't know. Python makes a little bit more sense because I guess when Python was developed or built, multi-threaded processors, that wasn't really as big of a thing. Async IO lib with Python 3.14 is quite okay. So that's the only async version of Python I've used, or that's the only implementation I've used is async IO. So I don't know what else you do besides that, but it just seems like it just feels very much like bolted on the side to the language, I guess, in my opinion. Me here not liking Python. Well, yeah, you would think if you're doing anything time based, it is important for it to be on time. So this is going to be... I don't think this actually needs to be a public field. So this will be... Okay, so let's do the register. So register is very simple. Register is just c.commands, cmd name, and then the command. Like that. That's pretty straightforward. Cannot use variable. Oh, it's pointer. And then this one's a little bit more involved where we probably need to do this where we say command. This should probably be this should be name. So then we'll do the lookup here. So we'll say, give me the command, and let's see if it's found. So we'll say c.command. Oh, I started working before the break was over. That's okay. CMD name. if not found, then we'll return an error. No command otherwise. We'll do command dot handler, pass in the state. Okay, there we go. I think that's working. Now this is going to complain, which it should. Because what it wants is it wants all those things. So let's do login. Let's do args. So how do we get the args? Args equals os dot something are there? Dot args. Args hold the command line argument starting with the program. So we have to slice off, right? So we have to say take everything from the second. I don't know, man. I don't know why args lives on the... I don't know why args lives on the commands. Why doesn't arg live on the state? Okay. Now we need to define the handler here. Damn, that background music sick, Steven. Oh, you like that? Yeah. I use right now I'm using Stream Beats, Harris Heller's music. But sometimes I use the lo-fi generator. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. He actually the story behind Stream Beats is basically he spent a bunch of money with a bunch of producers to make music just for people to use in their streams and videos and stuff. That's copyright free. This is kind of a cool thing for someone to do. State.state is not a type? What? Yes, it is. Oh, because I'm aliasing it. That's what. Or shadowing it, I guess I should say. So the actual command is always going to be os args. Dude, I don't know why my keyboard does that sometimes. Sometimes it just spams characters like that. I think there's a problem with it. I think it's defective. I think I need a new keyboard. Another keyboard. So we don't want the 0th index because that's the name of the program, I think. The first argument is automatically the program name, yes. And we require a command name. So we actually need to say if. Also, I think this needs to be I can't remember if it's inclusive or not. I think this needs to be 2. But we need to do a check here that says if os dot oh goodness. If os.args is less than 2, we have a problem. We don't even need to read the config. We just need to return, we just need to format.print line not enough arguments provided, something like that. We'll pretty that up in the future, and then we want to exit os.exit. We'll just exit with 1. See, the problem is, the reason why I'm kind of lagged out at the moment is we're checking if args is less than 2. That confirms that we definitely have a command, but it doesn't confirm that they've given us anything else. So I don't think this is safe to do because there might not be any other arguments. So I think for now, what I'll just do is I'll just do that. And then here I'll say registry.run command. I'll pass the command and the state. And I'm going to flip the order of these, because that makes more sense to me. Trop, inclusive, exclusive. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. That's very helpful. I can never remember. Need to commit that to memory. So we're inclusive and exclusive. So if I do 2, we're going to get 2. But if 2's not there, if 2's not there, I think we have a problem. I don't think this is safe. I think that's going to break. I think that's going to break stuff. Okay, if the command's arg slice is empty, return an error. I'm just going to test this really quick. So let's say we have a slice that's like this. And then I do print. Yeah, you're right. Hey, Steven, language, your family street's right behind. Well, normally they don't, but today they do. But I don't think the weather's that bad right now. Okay, so it's just empty. That's good to know. So then it's not going to throw, it's just going to be empty. Okay, so that's safe to do. All right. So at this point, See, I still okay. I'm sorry, but I've gotta change this stuff because it's bothering me. I don't. This should not live here. This should not live here. This should live. This should not live here. This should live on the state. And the reason is because we're in a command line application. You're not going to. You're going to get the arguments once, and the arguments are what they are for the duration of the execution of the program. So they really belong to the state of the program, just like the config is what the config is at the beginning of the program. So I'm going to go to the state and I'm going to add it there. Like that. I'm just going to make this public. This is all gonna bite. I know this is all gonna bite me in the ass when we get to the next lesson, and he's gonna have us do something that requires the arguments to belong to the command. But I don't care. I don't care. So now we can pass the args here. There we go. Now a command is just a name and the handler. That's all the command is. Which also means we don't need to pass the command in here. So we can change the definition of our handler. But I think the reason they were passing it in was so they could have access to that. We don't need that. There we go. Even though I hate Python, I don't know. I try not to say I hate Python. I just try to say I don't prefer it, you know? Because I'll write it. I'm fine if that's what needs to be done, is we need to write some Python. I'm fine. We can do that. But I would much prefer to do something different. Nah, most C guys hate Python. Fair enough. Fair enough. I wouldn't consider myself a C guy, though. Or does it count because I like C sharp? If I like C sharp, does that mean I'm a C guy? Yeah, I don't know. Was forced into the land of indentation. The land of indentation. The the desert of semicolons and curly braces. It counts? Oh, okay. Any Python devs, I mean the full-time ones that are worth their salt, usually bring the same level of language enthusiasm. That's totally fair. Okay, so let's say length of state.args. Our argument is if that equals 0, we have a problem. So we'll say format.arf. We'll return that. And then I think we should do something like The login handler expects a single argument, the user name. Expected did not receive expected username argument. Hey, what's up, Danny? Good to see you. Captain Lucio, yo, dumb question. As I write my project in Go and NeoVim, I'm trying to learn both NeoVim. I'm trying to learn both in NeoVim. When you get a drop-down list of suggestions, how do I navigate through it? I have heard that if I'm learning Vim, I need to stay away from the arrows. However, so far that is the only way to navigate through those options. I'm using LazyVim. So I don't know about LazyVim, but I use Telescope, I think like a lot of people do, for like, for example, file stuff like this. And I'm not sure about LazyVim, but for me, I open this in insert mode. So I can obviously do that, right? Oops, I don't mean to be. And then if I exit insert mode while I have this telescope pane open, I can use normal JK to move up and down the list. So I'm not sure how I'm not sure if LazyVim's keybinds, I would think they're the same. I would guess they're probably using Telescope quite as extensively through their configs. But yeah, for me, it's just JK to move up and down in these lists. And then if I want to go back to searching, I hit insert. And that seems to go for most things. What else? Oh, like rip grep. So this is live grep. It's the same thing here, where if I'm in insert mode and I type, it searches. But then if I want to navigate the results, I just hit escape and I can navigate with JK. Obviously arrows do work, but I agree they're kind of not the most comfortable thing to use. So I'm not sure why LazyVim would be different. What if it's an inline drop down? I don't know if I've seen that before. Like on the Lua command, like on the command line, like if I type colon, and then let's say I'm typing LSP, I usually just do tab for, it's like, I don't know if this is what you mean. Like that menu, I just use tab to navigate through that, tab forward, or shift tab to go back. I think Control N, Control P for next, previous, and lazy, though I might have set my stuff up a long time ago. Yeah, I've never used LazyVim myself, and I don't know if I know exactly what an inline dropdown looks like. That may not be something I have much in my configuration. Crap, I just noticed that my Steven stream instance wasn't live. Sorry, Steven, if I said something. You didn't say anything wrong, man. You're just chilling, hanging out, man. We're having a good time. Oh, using REPL for math sounds like a good use case. Oh, I see what you mean. So this, like if you're typing like OS like that, right? So you're saying in this menu you usually use the arrow keys to move up. I see what you mean. Because yeah, this is kind of a drop down, right? That's what you mean. I think I just use tab. So shift tab to move up and down. And then tab to move around. And then I use enter to complete it. Yeah, that's what I'm using. Tab. Tab and shift tab, depending on what direction I want to go through. But again, I don't know if LazyVim is set up that way. So I hate to, given how configurable NeoVim is, you know? Control N, Control P work. There you go. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Who had that answer? Johnny. Yeah, thank you, Johnny, for helping Captain Lucho. That's very helpful. You the man. I wonder if that works for mine. Let's see. Control P? Yep, Control P and Control N work for mine too. We're probably using a similar tool. I think I use Lewis Snip. What is a blog aggregator? It's just an RSS reader, basically. Yeah, RSS reader. It's a guided project on boot.dev, which is like a gamified learning course that we've been going through on stream. It's been fun. Yep, what Kale said. What Kale said. Yeah, I'm curious now, now that we've cracked this can of worms, I'm curious if my configuration explicitly sets up those keybinds. I wonder if those keybinds just come. Let's see. Control N. Yeah, I wonder if those keybinds just come out of the box. Because it looks like the only ones I'm explicitly setting up are the ones to deal with navigating Lewis Snip explicitly. Huh. I need to take a stroll through LazyVim's configs and see if there's something if there are things I can steal from it. Oakplank, you use WSL now? No, I'm using WSL because of boot.dev. Basically, they kind of tell you, like, in the beginning of each course, especially if it's a course where you're going to work in your own development environment, they basically always warn you, if you try to complete this course without WSL2, you're gonna have a bad time. So I've just been using the Linux install I have on WSL to do all their stuff. But for my day-to-day stuff, I still just work on the Windows host mostly. Not to start the editor wars all over again, but anyone here have experience with Emacs? I'm just curious as I have never actually touched it. I haven't either. So, but yeah, I'd be interested to hear about people's experience. The only person I've really seen use it extensively is Bash Bunny. She uses it quite a bit on her streams. And it seems equally as interesting and fun as NeoVim, but I've never tried. Okay, you can mount your NeoVim folder from mount in WSL. So I haven't ever done stuff like that because, and I think that this has largely been fixed, but I've avoided accessing Windows files from the Linux install because previously when I had tried to do that, it was notoriously slow and painful. But maybe that's gotten better. A noob dual boot, or are you using a separate PC? So I'm using the same PC, so I don't have a dual PC setup. That would be pretty cool if I did, but no, I don't have a dual PC setup. So I just have WSL, which is how I am on using a Ubuntu terminal environment, and then the host machine is a Windows machine. You guys should try Notepad++, real legend, very OP. I've not used Notepad++ extensively. When I first got hired at my job, Notepad++ came installed on our work computers, and that was my very first experience with it. But very quickly didn't touch it again after the initial like, ooh, what's this? So then didn't go back to it. But I've heard that it has a very committed following, very similar to like the Sublime text editor. I guess there's people that just, that's where they feel the most at home and the most productive, which I think is great. I think everyone should have that. Notepad++ can show text. Can you imagine? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you think about the editor wars, all this AI stuff makes a lot of sense now. It makes sense why people are so. I mean, if we got that hot and bothered about what we type our characters into. Notepad++ to make Minecraft mods. Very cool. Very cool. I've never made any Minecraft mods. I don't know any Java. But I think that'd be fun to learn. I don't know. I think I came to programming and coding so much later in life. The games were not really a part of my programming arc, but it seems like for so many people, which is just kind of fascinating, but so many people, the entry point into computers and programming was through games, which is kind of crazy. Well, we do spend a lot of time inputting text. That's true. You should care about the things you use. 100%. 100%. I did get my while we're on the topic of NeoVim and editors and stuff, I did get my NeoVim configs migrated to Roslyn. So let's do Chesmoy. I think it's apply. Yeah, refresh externals. I'm so happy about it too, man. There's this functionality that wasn't available in OmniSharp, but is available in Roslyn, where when you're fixing a code, when you execute a code action, you can apply that code action to the file, the project, or the solution. And in OmniSharp, that wasn't available. That was only something you could do, or only something I could do in VS Code, because I was using OmniSharp in my NeoVim configs. But now I switched over to the Roslyn language server, and that functionality is available to me now, and I'm in love. And so the last thing I need to sort out when it comes to my C# setup in NeoVim is support for Razor syntax. That's the one thing I think I still have to sort out, is not having Razor syntax support. But actually, now that I say that, that might be fixed, because they moved the Razor LSP to be co-hosted with the Roslyn LSP. So now I think maybe that's fixed. I just need to test it. We only have 30 seconds before we have to start again. So let me just set this up so I can test it. We have another break. See if this works. I daily drive Vim full in work, refusing to touch VS Code on the work machine whenever I can. So I don't personally use VS Code, I don't personally use NeoVim for work stuff. I still use Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code, but the daddy, the big boy, Visual Studio, just because it just seems much more optimized and better fitted for like a very large .NET solution. Yeah, VS Code's good. I still think VS Code's a wonderful product. I very much enjoy it myself. The proper VS, most def, yeah. I don't know what you want to refer to it, but it's like people get so confused because sometimes people's only exposure has been to Visual Studio Code. So when you say Visual Studio, they auto-complete the code part of that statement, and so I don't know I don't know what the proper way is to refer to one versus the other in 2026 because so many developers have just never touched the Visual Studio proper. So we need to come up with a better leave Visual Studio Code what it is, but then they need to come up with something that's more that delineates it better for the actual IDE. Yeah. It is kind of annoying. It is kind of annoying. Not that I'm upset with people not knowing, it's just it can lead to some confusing conversations when someone says Visual Studio, because they're completely different products, right? They're completely different things that have completely different user experience. One is like getting, Visual Studio is like getting into the cockpit of an F-16, and Visual Studio Code is more like, I don't know, driving your Honda Civic, right? So it's like, it's just kind of completely different user experiences. When you go, I write in C++, everyone thinks GNU C++, where there's Visual C++ and C++ CLI as well. Interesting. So it's not just it's a problem in other dev environments too. Interesting. VS Code is the Tesla. Okay, VS Code can be the Tesla because it is a pretty sharp product. Yeah, I think Visual Studio is intimidating, honestly. I think all the settings and menus, and I think for most people it's very overwhelming. Clip that F-16, but actual. It's a thing. It's definitely a thing. All right, I need to finish implementing this login handler. Okay, so we have our use the state's access to the config struct to set the user to the given username. Remember to return any errors. Print a message to the terminal that the user has been set. Okay, so format print line user current user set to whatever the username is. Oh, and by the way, don't get me wrong, Visual Studio from 2022 version is shit. Been on Rider since. Rider's fantastic product. Yeah, Rider's a fantastic product. I personally like the new Visual Studio compared to Visual Studio 2022. I still think Rider might be a better product compared to VS 2026. But yeah, these days I don't have much use for Rider in my personal work, and I don't use it. We don't use it at work, so I find myself there very rarely. Okay, current user set to %s. new line. And then we actually need to do something with the username. So I think there's an error and then state.config or s.config. There we go. We want to set user. If error does not equal nil, let's return the error. And then we should probably do something with that. So we should probably say if error does not equal nil, we should os.exit and then format printf, and we should say error running blank command. Something like that, and then otherwise we'll os exit 0. Okay, I think that's a pretty good ergonomic experience, although I'm not sure this is where we should be newing this command up. Don't really know. I almost feel like this should just live in the registry somewhere. Probably should live in this. Because this is it's almost like a route, right, in an API or a web application. Probably shouldn't be in the entry point. So let's do go run. Not enough arguments provided. So let's actually do this. Not enough arguments provided. Usage. Command. Args. Options or something like that. We haven't really got to the options part yet. So then if we do go run login, error running login command did not receive expected username argument, exit status 2. This should have a new line after it. There we go. And then go run.login, Steven. Go run.login, Lane. Go run.login, chat. I think it works. I think that's a good API design. Good user experience so far. Just look back at the state object. That looks okay. Let's look at the config. I still don't like the IO that's happening here. The command registry, I like that. I just feel like, honestly, we should just extract this here. This should not happen here. This should happen just inside commands somewhere. So let's define, let's define that here. Let's do function new login command create login command, or maybe just login command, that, and then this will return a command. Sorry, chat, I don't need to ignore it. Cannot use new command. Oh. There we go. And then I think that means now this can go away. This can be private. But I don't know why anyone outside this module, whatever, I need to new one up. And then the command registry now in the register command can also become private. Which means then in here, I'm gonna move this up. No, I'm gonna leave that there. Then that means inside here, we can say C or CR equals this guy. Return CR. And then we can say commands is a slice of commands. And then we can say for CMD and commands all cr.register. Range. Okay. So I think that should all work the same. Now that just means in main here, right? This is all we need in main because the registry. Yeah. So let's go run. We broke something. Registry.registry undefined type command is no field or method register. Oh. Yeah, we don't need that. There we go. Yeah, I think that's much better. Good morning, Eduardo. Hello, hello. Safarl, sup? How's it going? It's going good. We're doing good. You know what also shouldn't happen? Java. That's so funny. Let's see, IO to temp, so you can sort of forget about M, reasonable to force login on restart, or you don't like IO not being called out explicitly. Yeah, I don't like the fact that the problem I have with the current implementation of this config object is we just have this one method right now that mutates the config state, but inside mutating the config, you're also doing some IO work, right? And so if a caller is saying, hey, I want to update the config username, they are unaware that they're also writing to a file, right? So I would probably like this to be like a save method. So I would probably, if it was me, which it is me, so I can probably just do this. Where is it? Inside the login command here, instead of calling set user and that saving the file, we should probably have something that's like set user and then s.config.save, right? So if you wanted to do more than one mutation, you could, right? Or more than one update, and then only write to the disk once. That's probably how it should work. But I'm going to leave it for now because I still don't know exactly where he's going with all this. Okay, let's go ahead and do the checks. We passed. All right, now we're going to do some PostgreSQL stuff, I guess. So how are they going to have us do this? Hey, what's up, Komodo Dragon? How are you? No, Komodo Swag Dragon. Yo, long time no see. Yes, I've been around, but I have not seen you around. Yeah, hidden IO is always bad. I've seen code that's written where, like if you're familiar with C#, I've seen code where when you call a getter, like a property that has a getter field, inside the getter, somebody implemented IO in that getter. So you're unknowingly, as you're reading a property on an object, you're unknowingly doing a database call. Been working overnights. Oh, that's rough, man. Overnights are tough on everybody. Yeah, they are tough. Well, that's wonderful. I hope you do get to work on some human hours. But I mean, I'm glad you're working in general. But you know, it's always good to earn money and have a job. But yeah, overnights are just difficult. Remember, Steven, more work for us. Yeah, sometimes I guess engineering has something to do with job security. That sounds like a yes, you can do that. Just add IO code within a getter. Should I prepare sample code? Dude, I don't know very many. I just don't know very many, especially since now that C# has all this async and await support, and you can't make a getter async, right? So the fact that at one time somebody was like, you know what we should do inside a getter is we should just hide calls to the database, or we should hide calls to distributed caches, or hide calls to file repositories. To me that's a wild decision, but I'm sure it made sense to somebody at the time when they wrote the code to stash away IO in there. Okay, I really don't want to install Postgres on the machine. So I think I'm going to modify this to use Docker. Or maybe I should just do what they say. I should probably just do what they say and then uninstall it after we're done. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. C# is so OP with create minimal API. I listened to you last time that on my low end 256 megabyte RAM VPS, I should go C# and boy, it's beautiful with only 22 megabytes RAM process at tops. Nice. Yeah, I love C#. I think C#'s wonderful. I think they've done a wonderful job in the last couple of years of trying to make it easier for people to get started. Because I do think there for a while C# felt very heavy to a lot of people, right? You had a solution file or you had a project file, then there was all this ceremony around it, right? And now just last year they introduced you can just write a C# file and run a C# file the same way you can use Node to run a JavaScript file or a TypeScript file. So I think they've done a good job at trying to make C# approachable and scale down, as well as still be capable of scaling up to like super complex enterprise like environments, but also scale down to, minimum viable thing. And the benefit of that is you still get all the beneficial things of C# in either direction you're going. You get great type system, very expressive language. You can write low-level code if you want. You can write high-level code if you want. You can write functional style code, object-oriented style code. You get all these perf benefits. They've added tons and tons of good support for ahead-of-time compilation versus doing just-in-time compilation. It's the last, I'd say, like from .NET 6 to .NET 10, just really, really big strides. Yeah, .NET framework. Yeah, legacy work. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if your only exposure to C# or .NET ever was .NET framework, it would probably be worth your while to come back to it now in 2026 and experience it, because it's just a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. I know that the joke is people calling it MS Java, but from what I've seen, it's definitely going its own way. Yeah, I think maybe that's where it started, right? But I think they've done a lot of work to push back against that, in my opinion, and I think it's good work. But I will readily admit I am biased in my opinions about this, so so take it for what it's worth. Jesus. I don't know if I remember the password. There we go. All right, now we need to see if it was successful, huh? PSQL -- version. What's there? PSQL. Okay.
Kelsey says, what you doing?
Good morning, honey. Oh, nothing. Just listen to music. Typing on my keyboard. Sorry if I woke you guys up. I tried to be quiet.
Kelsey says noise.
All right. Let's see. Create database. All right, looky there. We're off and rolling, aren't we? Wonder why we wouldn't just use SQLite. I don't know why we're using Postgres for this, but. All right, now we're going to use something called Goose. Goose is a database migration tool written in Go. It runs migrations from a set of SQL files, making it perfect fit for this project. I have not used Goose before. Okay, install Goose. Go is just a command, or Goose is just a command line tool that happens to be written in Go. I recommend installing it. Okay. So go install github.com/Presley/goose/v3 cmd goose at latest. Wow, that's got a lot of dependencies there. I saw OTel in that list somewhere. There, yeah. Saw some OTel there. Oh boy. This is quite a beast of a tool that we're installing. Uh-oh, I think it hung. I think it's stuck. Or it's just taking a long time to download? I don't know. Steven is very nice to us, and as we are to him. He is the best man. Have I ever dabbled in C++? No, I just recently, if you go back, I did a bunch of streams a week or two ago. I made a playlist out of them where I built a Chip 8 emulator. And that was my first experience with C, was using it to boot. The boot.dev has a learn manual memory management in C course. And so that was my first exposure to any kind of low level. Well, I guess I take that back. I learned Rust last year, or earlier this year. But that was my first exposure to any like C low level language. And so I've never used C++ either. I haven't really worked on any projects or had any ideas for things that are kind of in that systems programming language world myself. Like, I'm not really interested that much in game dev. I'm not that interested in like building compilers or, working on stuff like that. Most of the stuff I build is either web apps, TUIs, CLI tools, those kinds of things. All right, now we got to make sure Goose is installed. goose dash dash version. Okay. And now we're going to start working on our migrations. Create a user's migration in a new SQL schema directory. Okay. SQL schema number name .sql. Okay. Oh, whoops. That was just the format. So you're saying you did it should be users. LOL. That was funny, honey. Okay, so we should have create table. So we have to write comments. That's interesting. So Goose parses this and recognizes what up and down is. So create table users, and then we'll have drop table users like that. All right, so in here we need ID, UUID. Oh, do I have a, let's see. Is there a good SQL language server people like? Oh, there's Postgres. Let's install that. I need to enable it now, huh? NeoVim. Oh, I do have one. I guess I should probably just reuse that one, huh? Okay, let's go back. Uninstall, or how do I clean it? How do I get rid of it? Uninstall X. I think it was this one. It's taken a long time to install. Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Installing npm package. There we go. There we go. Okay. Where were we? We're here. Hold on, what was that error? Client SQL quit with execode 1 and signal 0. Check for log errors. What? See, this is the one part about using NeoVim is you get sidetracked with this stuff. Okay, looks like there's some node module errors here. Package subpath is not defined by exports. It looks like it's failing to load something. Well, that's not good. Hello, the coding therapist. Nice to see you. What is that book called that you use for your investments that you mentioned the other day? It's called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. I can actually, let me grab you the link. It's actually, if you are interested, I would encourage you to also maybe consider the audiobook, because the author JL, he's like a very distinct, almost like radio voice. And he speaks the same way he reads, it's just a good experience. So if you're interested in audiobooks or like audiobooks, that might be a good option. But I can get you the link. It's kind of like listening to your wise old uncle, explain to you money and, give you advice. Maybe for some people out there who don't have that person in their life, it's nice. Okay, here you go. Let me stick that in the chat. Yeah, of course. Thank you for stopping back by the stream, man. Appreciate it. The coding therapist. Here you go. It's not like an affiliate link or anything. It's just I buy all my audio books and most of my Kindle books and stuff on Amazon, but you can find it other places too, obviously. This is the book website for anybody. Yeah, of course. Simple Path to Wealth book website. Yeah, that book I think before I found J.L. Collins, I was definitely a big, and I still am, I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey. I think Dave Ramsey really has a wonderful system if you're in that part of your financial journey where you're just trying to get your feet underneath you, right? And you're just trying to get your head above water and feel like you can finally breathe for the first time in a long time. But then I found JL, and I think finding his work was really important, because once I had kind of started to right the ship from a debt perspective, then it was like I immediately knew what the next step was after that, right? Like, what do I do with my next dollars? And he made it so simple and explained it in such a way that nobody had ever really explained it to me before. So it's really eye-opening. The guys that I found recently now on the personal finance side, I know, here I go. I'll just, people start talking about this, I run away. But there's a couple new guys I found through their podcast and their YouTube channel called Money Guy. The Money Guy is the name of their YouTube channel. They're wealth advisors. I think they're actually based in the same town that Dave Ramsey is. I think Franklin, Tennessee, I think is where they're based out of. But they have a lot of wonderful content too. So if you're kind of in that stage of your life where you're trying to sort out what to do with your monies and how to manage them, I would recommend them as well. They've got a lot of great resources and content, and just kind of good stuff to put in your head. Okay, back to creating a SQL migration. Sorry, I got distracted there. Oh, this isn't what this is the wrong terminal. Oh, we were trying to figure out why SQL wasn't working. Yeah, Dave Ramsey's great, yeah. I know a lot of people have a lot of feelings about Dave and his opinions on things, but I just think he comes at it from a very, principled perspective. I also think he's very strong-willed in what he believes, obviously, because he's seen it work for so many people. And I know that kind of puts a lot of people off. I feel like people criticize him because they feel like he's out of touch or doesn't understand the challenges that modern day adults are facing, which I have empathy for that criticism, and I have understanding for it. But at the same time, I think the way he looks at it is, you know, it doesn't change the math of the situation, right? You gotta live on less than you make and invest the difference, and there's no arguing with math, right? This is what makes finance hard. Someone makes money hard. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your intentions. Okay, so I'm pretty sure the problem here. SQL language server. I think I spelled that wrong. Error, package path not exported. Package subpath lib common protocol is not defined by exports. So I think this is a common JS versus ESM module or ES module conflict.
Kelsey
I think
says you missed a line.
What? Hold on. Money Guy's good. Also like Kenneth Suna on here for some investing advice. Practical doesn't feel scammy. Oh, I've never heard of him. That's a new one. It's always good to get new ones. Dave understands the biblical principles and that is the way to view life in general, but especially for our finances. I would agree. Yeah, I love what he says about the borrower is slave to the lender. Yeah, I love that line. Yeah, that's great. Great Bible verse. Very true. Very true. The world tries, the crazy thing is the world tries to convince you the opposite of that. Like the world is constantly trying to convince you that like, no. You're a smart, savvy, financial literate person if you understand how to leverage debt to, you know, make money or to build a life like that. You're smart. If you don't understand that, you're an idiot. You're dumb. That's how the world makes you feel. Where you're like, I don't know, man. Several $100,000 worth of debt seems a little not good. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. Makes me anxious. In Poland, we got the Witcher super production, and fuck, it's so good. What's the Witcher super production? Oh, you're talking to my wife about? Yeah. Yeah, I feel like she'd like the full cast audiobooks. I feel like she would like the full cast audiobooks of the Harry Potter series that are being released on Audible. Siri thought I was talking to it. All right, let's see if I can figure out what this error is about here. I don't think this happens on my Windows machine. Okay, so what's different about that? What's different about my... This is the wrong one. SQL ls neovim. Let's see if there's any. There's got to be an issue here. I wonder if it's maybe my Node version. Let's see. MVim. Okay, 24. Okay. Oh, that's the same. Whoops. That's confusing. No, Node dash version. No, I'm using the same, basically the same version of Node. Yeah, I guess if you're like my wife and you listen to things on 15x speed. Yeah, honey, that's a problem. That just means you need to read it at one speed and enjoy the experience. I don't know, honey. I don't know. It sure does sound like 15x. All right, we're gonna get some LLM assistance here. I just looked at your old vids and found you also looked 30 at 20. So does that mean I look relatively the same now as I did back then? I mean, hopefully that's not a terrible thing. Although I feel like I look older now when I see myself in the mirror. I don't know. I think aging happens so slowly, you know, that you barely notice it. But then one day, you know, you're looking at a new picture versus a old picture, and you're like, "What? How did that happen?" You didn't age much? I don't know. I've got gray hair, and I mean, I guess I have the starting of gray hair, little bits of gray hair. Okay, let's try this again.
Kelsey says, "Oh, you have gray hair."
Yeah, you probably can't see the gray hair just because it's not so much that it stands out, but when I look in the mirror, I can see strands of gray. Eventually, one day, I'm sure it'll be much more prominent. Okay, if this doesn't work, then I'll switch to a different. I'll switch to a different language server if this doesn't work. Looks like there's a SQL language server called SQLLS or SQLS. He has like no gray hair, and I have like a lot of white hair. Okay, that failed to install. Okay, lame. Uninstall it. Lame. This is so frustrating. Okay, we're gonna blow this away. I'm gonna blow that away. Packages. Oh no, don't run that command.
Kelsey says, do you have a countdown?
Yeah, it's a Pomodoro timer. So it just like it switches between 25 minutes of work and 5 minutes of a break. It just goes back and forth. It's a timer when Steven is nice. After the timer goes to 0, I get nicer and nicer. I like it. So, I mean, it sounds like a good... sounds like that could make for actually interesting content, right? Like instead of a productivity-focused timer, it's a nice versus mean timer. Could make for interesting content. Okay. Nicer Doro, yeah, that would work. Yeah, that would work. See, we've got all the ideas over here. All right, let's switch over to the other one. So we'll install this one. This is supposedly Go based instead of Node based. Why do they have ClickHouse in there? Isn't ClickHouse an analytics tool?
Kelsey says it's so he doesn't get locked into a problem. And then he looks up and it's hours later.
Yeah, that's a real problem. Oh no, ClickHouse is just a database tool. But it's used for analytics, observability, data warehouse. Okay. My workflow: 2 minutes of work, write a quick prompt, watch YouTube, come back, do a tiny bit of reading, repeat, then wonder why I never finish. I mean, it doesn't sound like a terrible workflow. Sounds okay. My workflow is just get absurdly fixated on figuring something out. Come on, let's go. Install already. Okay. Now we have to edit our configs to make use of that. Now instead of this, we'll do that. Instead of that, we'll do that. Hey, I'm glad your PC can breathe. Let's go. Hey, going to get ready for work. Have a great Friday. An awesome weekend. Thanks for NeoVim help earlier. Of course, Captain Lucho. I hope you also have a wonderful Friday and a kick-ass weekend. Hope work treats you well. Okay, I don't know if that worked. Okay, I don't know if I have another session in me. Let's...
Kelsey says, Dad, brand new day skin is out. Can the little one buy it?
Oh, for Spider-Man? Yeah, I think that's okay. I mean, you can't say no to your kid on stream. People will think you're mean. It's like asking if your friends can come over in front of your friends. What are your parents gonna do? Say no? What was I gonna do? Oh, I need to update my NeoVim configs. So cd to NeoVim go to the event configs. And then we need to go back over to the Linux side of the house. And then we need to get status, get diff. I don't care about the lock file. Okay, get add, get commit, change from I don't know if that actually fixed anything, honestly. Facts. Yeah, that's fine. You can override it. Okay. So what did we do today? We started on the Oh, did I I think I closed it. Okay, so we started on Gator. So let's actually get this committed so we can get counts for progress. And let's also add a to-do.
Kelsey says little one excitedly ran.
Finish writing. I don't even want to know how much money I spent on Fortnite skins at this point. Finish writing SQL migration for users table. That's our next to do. What do we want to call this? We call this Gator. This is a blog aggregator that was built as part of boot.dev. All right, I think we're good, right? I think we're good. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a Okay, now we need to add a get t. So get t.freeborn.cloud like this. GitHub.com. Okay, no, I do not want to import a repository. I want to create a new repository. Gator. This is a blog aggregator built as part of a course for boot.dev. Could create that. Do the same thing over here. You're such a great dad. Can you foster and adopt me? I don't know. Some days I'm not the best. Some days I'm definitely not. I definitely can get grumpy and short on patience. I think every parent just tries to do the best, you know? Tries to do the best they can. I mean, definitely there's parents out there that don't try their best, but I think most parents try to do their best. You know? We're all working with the tools that we have, playing the hands we were dealt. Repository. This is gonna have the same name. Make it easy. This is kind of a how do I want to say that? This is kind of a hacky workflow I've developed, but basically I'm using Git as my primary Git server. So all the code that I care about or things I've written or created for myself, I want to live on my Git server because it's backed by not my NAS. And then I mirror it though to GitHub, because obviously GitHub is where people actually find your code, right? Or actually look for your code. So this is my current workflow to set all that up. It's a little clunky. I need to probably invest some time maybe in some tooling and stuff to make it a little bit more convenient. But it works for now. Hey, Sharat. How are you doing? That's normal, Steve, and I am too. We have to be for our children to be as best brought up as possible. Yeah, I think intention matters a lot. I also think, you know, your kids, there's definitely a lot of nature, you know, in us, you know, like I think the nurturing is important, right? Love, care, affection, all those things are important, right? But there is a lot of nature in human beings, you know. Just seeing how different my two kids are from each other, but they've been raised by the same two people, you know. Okay. All right, now we'll just take that. We'll get our SSH URL. Go back in here and we'll say git remote add that guy. Oh, git remote add git that guy. And then we'll just go ahead and git push. Failed to push refs to main. Source refs. Implemented initial login command. Now git push. There we go. Okay, and then because I set up that mirror now, what should happen is Git will receive it, and then Git will send it over to GitHub. There we go. And then let's just, we can uncheck these guys. Boot, dev, boots. What do I want to call, I don't know what we want to call this, blog, aggregator. Yeah, that's good. Interesting. Is it Git inner configuration for that auto GitHub update, or you got some script on behind it? No, it's just something it supports out of the box. They also support the other way. So if you want to use GitHub as your primary and then mirror GitHub to your Git server, you can also do that. So you can do a push or a pull mirror depending on what you want to do. They also have really good support for doing migrations. Right, so if you want to migrate from GitHub or some other Git server to Git, that's got pretty good support for that. I've been super happy. The only one issue I have with Git is its CLI is not as robust as GitHub CLI, but that's really my only complaint. Other than that, I've been super happy with the move over. They have basically all the existing functionality of GitHub, you know, projects, issues, pull requests, all that stuff, wikis. You can set up your own actions runners. Most of GitHub actions will work just fine on your own Git runners. There's a few quirky things, like you have to use certain specific versions of some of the GitHub actions that are out there, but for the most part, things just work. I just have several servers in my house that I use as runners. think I have 4. Yeah, I have like, this is a laptop. This is my desktop computer. This is another laptop. This is an old MacBook I repurposed to an Ubuntu server, and they all just have a runner that runs on a Docker container on them. So it works pretty good. Obviously, you can still use GitHub too for that stuff as well, right? You're just, like I said, the only reason I'm using it is more so that the code I care about stays on my stuff, and I always have copies of it, and I don't have to worry about losing it or somebody, closing my account or something and me losing access to the code that I've authored. That's interesting. I have not made a tutorial, but I could. Yeah, I could make a video if that's something people would be interested in. It's very straightforward. I felt like to get it set up. Probably the only difficult part or the nitty-gritty part is like when you start talking about like the networking and the file mounts. If you're gonna like, I run Git in a Docker container, so obviously I've got to mount the file share for my TrueNAS machine onto my server. Then I've got to mount that path into the container, right? And then you also have the networking, right? Because the way my network is set up is I have Cloudflare in front. Then that comes to a proxy locally, a server locally, that then proxies that traffic to the actual server where Git is running. So you kind of have to make a couple jumps, or in my setup, you have to make a couple jumps with both the HTTP traffic and the SSH traffic. But Nginx makes it pretty straightforward to proxy the SSH traffic just using dedicated ports. So you can just have machines listen on a non-standard SSH port and then configure Nginx to route the traffic appropriately to that machine and that specific port, and that works pretty good. Oh no, I basically just cobbled together a bunch of resources from the documentation. So I used GitT's documentation. They were good. That was very helpful. I can't remember if there's any blog articles or websites I looked at. Maybe the TrueNAS forums. I don't know. This would have been 3 or 4 months ago now at this point, so I can't exactly remember. But the GitT documentation is pretty straightforward. If you follow their docs, they have you covered for the majority of the happy path. So it's good. Sure, it's been a long time. I was a bit busy in work. Well, I'm glad you were busy. It's always good to have work and be earning. Still on Rust. So right now we're doing boot.dev stuff. I've been still writing Rust in my own free time, but we haven't been doing much Rust on stream. My current Rust project, or I guess my last Rust project, is the Pomodoro timer that you see up here in the corner. This is written in Rust using Ratatouille, which was fun to write. Let's see, before that, I have an ongoing Rust project that is a desktop app. It's like a desktop utility app. I haven't like published it or made it available, but that's been fun to work on and hack on the side. I've got too many side projects going on right now. I need to get some to like a completed point and then go back to just working on one at a time. That's something I seem to have a hard time doing. It's kind of like when I read, I usually have like 3 or 4 books going all at the same time. Because some days I don't feel, some days I don't feel like reading that book, or some days I don't feel like working on that project. But I still want to write code, or I still want to read. But I'm in the mood for something different. So usually I have a few different things going on. But then that makes it hard to get any one to like a final completed state, right? Because you're always switching back and forth. All right, well, it's 8:12. I think I'm gonna call it for my Friday, at least my Friday on stream. I'm gonna go get more coffee. I wasn't able to make any more coffee because my coffee station was occupied this morning in the basement. So that's what I'm going to do. If you've already had your Friday, I hope you had a kick-ass Friday. And I hope you have a great weekend ahead of you. If you're getting ready to start your Friday, I hope Friday treats you well. And I'll be back tomorrow morning. Obviously, no pressure for you guys to come back, but if you do come back, I'll be here. Steven got Rust with C#. Long time no see C#. Yeah, we haven't seen C# on the stream in a while, have we? Well, that's because boot.dev doesn't do anything with C#, you know? Somebody needs to go talk to Lane Wagner about about fixing that. Somebody should have a C# course on there. All right, I'm outie. Is there anything else? Nope, I think that's it. All right, bye. See you guys. Have a good day.